Well, hello, old friend. It's time to work on you again. Good day, everybody. It's Jerry from BackCountry Wrenching. Welcome to today's video. In today's video, my LS Vortex Swap Jeep TJ here. We got kind of a little bit of a project going on. Something I've been dreading for a long time. It's something that needs to get taken care of before it starts on fire and burns itself to the ground. The oil pan gasket has been leaking for a long time, so instead of just replacing the gasket, I got a new oil pan that has the filter built into the pan. This is a low profile pan, much like the size I got. And I got a tray just in case I need it, because that's the tray that matches for this. I'm going to show you what I mean. Get underneath here. So you see that little puddle of oil right there? It's actually quite small to how it usually is. So you can see that skid pan is just soaked with oil. The oil pan, once we get this guard off, is going to be soaked with oil. I got my motorcycle jack out here because I'm going to lift it up and then pull the bolts out for the skid pan, pull that out, because I don't think I need to drop the exhaust fully. The exhaust kind of hugs itself around, and I'm hoping that the new oil pan will fit in without having to do any modifications to the exhaust. That's what I'm hoping. That's to be determined. I think if I could drop that exhaust down just a little bit, get that pan out, I think I'll be all right. Try to do it one-handed. Can sure hear that wind outside. She is a howling. Yeah, so basically when I got the engine shop to install the oil pan, I went with a remote oil filter, which I have right here. And that's honestly just become a big pain in the butt. I want to eliminate that and have the oil filter right on the pan itself. What I need to do right now is we're going to pull the negative battery terminal out, so there's no power to the system when we're working on it. I'll raise this up as high as I can, which is right there. So looks like I'm gonna have to get a block or something. Perfect. Block of wood up on there. Where's that? There's a good example. You can see all the oil leaks. And one thing too I don't like about this aftermarket pan is that the traditional LS oil pans bolt up to the bottom of your transmission here, or at the cut to make this plate to cover the flywheel and all that crap. That's another reason why I don't like it. So I gotta clean out this cat litter container right here. So I'm gonna salvage the oil because I have hardly any mileage on it. So these are all things that you decide at in the beginning would be a good idea, and then once you actually follow through, you decide that, you know what, maybe it wasn't. Like maybe trying to catch all this oil out now without it making a mess. So I got the oil drain plug out, and as you can see, that O-ring is not in the greatest condition either, which isn't helping out much as far as the leaking wise goes. Got the bolts out for that tray. Now I gotta remove these fittings for the oil lines. Got my drain pan down there, so I get those out. Hopefully I can get that out. That's one off. On the second one. Hands are all gimped up. Reaching up in there. Okay, that one's loose too. think these are attached to anything, so I should be able to loosen them and drop them out the bottom, I guess. Let's see if I catch this one. That one's off. That one's out. Maybe I can't get on there that well. I have to go the old-fashioned wrench. So I have decided I'm going to pull the drive shaft just because I want this exhaust to drop down and I don't want to be fighting with the oil pan. Because the more I try to take shortcuts, the more I realize that the struggle bus is just waiting around the corner just to come out and run me over. So I'm going to try to make this as painless as possible. All these U-joint clamps don't want to come out too nicely. There's one. Not too sure how I feel about this because removing this oil pan can open up a whole new world of sadness. Like do they even have a windage tray? Man, this is gonna let all the magic out. There's only suction and sadness. Wait, I got one more bolt. I thought I had them all. Hold on. Try to get up underneath so you guys can see the windage tray, the suction, and then over here, this is the one that came with the kit, and I actually had to buy this tray separate, which I'm glad I did. So we gotta fit that all up and then get it all down. I think the problem is why the oil pan was leaking, especially in the front and back, is that there's a couple seams that have to be siliconed, and they weren't siliconed, which could definitely cause a leak point for sure. There's always something. Always something. I should go get an oil filter tonight too while I'm at it. Sadly, I kind of figured this could be a very good possibility that the exhaust might have an issue. I'm not sure how I'm going to handle that yet because I don't want to drop the exhaust any lower because then we have an issue with the front drive shaft. So I might just have to flatten the top of that exhaust pipe a little bit so I can get the clearance. I'm going to have to see how that's going to play out once we get the new one in. All right, I can start pulling that out. Oops. Want to make sure the O-ring's out. So that makes sense now why this windage tray is smaller, because of how shallow that is. Not sure what I think about this oil pan gasket. It's a little damaged on that corner there. What's going on, Carmen's? You want some belly scratches? You want some belly scratches? How are you doing? Rawr, rawr, rawr. How you doing, baby girl? Oh, I know you're a big fluff ball now. Hey, you're a big fluff ball now that your hair's all grown in. Look at you. Look at you. Hey, belly rubs all around. I know you're not choosing violence. I know. You're starting to like the belly rubs. Oh, I know. I know, Carmen's. Oh, I know. Are you hungry? Do you want some food? Is it feeding time? Barbara? So now we're going to look at modifying the windage tray. You can see right there, it's got to be modified for the pickup. So I just kind of marked out right there what we need to do. So I got the tray cleaned up, gonna get ready to mount that. And I just modified that a little bit so it will fit a little bit better there. Get that on, torque it down to 18 foot-pounds, I believe it is. So we got the dipstick tube, got some assembly lube on it. We gotta push that O-ring in without pinching it. Gonna use that Titan fine tooth ratchet I got from Princess Auto, just an excuse to use it. I really like it. It's got a really nice grip to it. And we got these, kit came with all new bolts. These locking bolts right here. Butterfingers, where did you go? Onto the ground. I got it in, I don't know if you can see, but the one to the left, I had to put a little slot in the bolt so I could tighten it up because it just didn't want to go. There's not a lot of room in here to get some good videos, so that's all set up. Now we're ready to start setting up the oil pan. And I also put some on those joints right there. Now we're getting ready to prep the oil pan. This is for the oil filter. Gonna put some Loctite on there, tighten it up. Need to put that on the edge right there. Yeah, I better make sure I put some Loctite on the right threads there. Kind of debating if I should have put some silicone around this gasket, but due to the nature of it, as it is for the oil, I'm going to roll without it first. Lesson learned, I couldn't fit it up. I couldn't get through the hole here, so I'm not fucking around anymore. I just widened that tray a little bit. I'm gonna test fit it now. The other one didn't have anything at all. Round 2, it fits perfectly. Now I can bolt it up and the sadness can go away. New oil pans put back in, torque down to spec. All the main bolts are 18 foot-pounds, except for these two long ones at the back. I believe they are 106 inch-pounds. I do have one little issue. If you can see, actually, I'm trying to get the camera here. Right up in here, I need to build some covers on both sides for that. And then, of course, the exhaust is going to have some issues fitting up. I got to figure that out. So this was the plate I homemade, so I'll just have to modify it and then use the bender to bend some tabs so I can bolt little pieces on. This is going to be awkward, but right now I'm just barring over the engine by hand, making sure that there's going to be no interference with that new oil pan. The worst is over with now. The oil pan's put in. I just rotated it over by hand. I didn't feel anything that was rubbing or causing the crank nut to turn over, so I think I'm pretty good at that point. Do have to modify the exhaust. I kind of had an idea that was coming. All depends on how much I'm going to have to do it is another thing. But this is what happens. This is what I should have did in the first place. And that remote oil filter, I have regretted it ever since I put it in. It's been bugging me. I'm glad it's out of the way, but we're not out of the bush yet. The oil pan does look a heck of a lot better than the other one. I am still not too sure about that piece right there, because if that started getting a leak, it's going to piss your oil out pretty fast. But I'm glad that I got those bolts in, because that adds extra strength. Otherwise, the engine to the bell housing was just installed in the top few bolts. Now it's solid between all of them. Now I think what the reason why I had to modify the tray, and which would have made it different if I had the one piece housing versus the two piece, because the one piece I think has a cover that comes off the back, and I think that way I would be able to move the oil pan back far enough that I could get it in place. Whereas this one here, it needed to go in, but I couldn't budget past the bottom of the transmission cover, so that's why I had to notch it and then drop it in place. So I just got to build those guards now, modify the exhaust, put the oil filter on, put the oil in, and hopefully we won't have any issues. Just got one cover made, looking pretty good. Just gotta make the other side, then modify the exhaust. Something like this, you don't really need a bender. If you have a vise or something, you can stick it in a vise. I think I bent a little too far. That might fit. Second guard is put in. I had a little bit of a gap, so I used some heat tape. Now I gotta figure out this exhaust bit. Moving along. Exhaust is in. This is the oil filter. It says to use. I'm gonna go and tight on that. I just been jumping around here because I really need to get this project done. I just added the oil back in, put the battery connection back on. I'm gonna have a look underneath. So the exhaust is buttoned back up. I do like the idea with this oil pan. It's flush with the 4L60. There's going to be no issue as far as the oil filter hitting. I haven't put the skid pan back on because I'm going to start it up. Make sure there's no exhaust leaks, any of that crap. And make sure there's no engine oil leaks for sure. Alright, so is gonna be the moment of truth. Fire it up. We gotta watch oil pressure. That makes me very happy that this project is done, because it was not a very happy one. I was not motivated because it was failure on my behalf. That's something I overlooked and should have did in the first place, and had to go over and redo it again. It's rather disappointing. If this isn't a lifesaver, I don't know what is. I accidentally dropped my phone getting into my Jeep, and I didn't realize it. Then I ran it over, and I thought the glass is cracked, but it looks good. Whoops. But I had this Gorilla Glass on it, and it took the brunt of the abuse. Hard to get some contrast, but you see right there, it's all shattered. Last nice night, I'm gonna use my Fisker's axe I got from Cabela's, make some kindling. This little miniature version. I got the 36 inch and I picked up this one here. Everybody has their own method. Just like to use a pair of gloves. And the splitting axe makes this really easy. This is perfect night for a fire. Got my beer right here. It's a sour beer, Dino Sour. This is the last nice day for a while, because deep freeze is coming. It's like plus 5 degrees, and by tomorrow it's supposed to be like minus 20. So got to enjoy the fire while I can. I got myself a cigar. Yeah, so in this video I conquered a lot. Took care of one issue. We're gonna see what happens, see if there's any other kind of issues. See how bad the leaking is afterwards. But it was a necessary evil. I'm not gonna lie, I struggled to stay motivated to do it. Only because I hate redoing something that I know that I failed at, and it's just hard to overcome that and move on. So I'm glad that that part is finished, and now I can move forward. And unless something else breaks down, the only large project I got left is the oil cooler on the JK, but I'm not going to worry about that till it starts getting warmer, because I don't want the Jeep to be stuck in the garage when there's a cold spell. I may need it. It's motherfucking beer time. I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my evening now, sitting by the fire. Oh yes, it's burning good now.